Hi there and welcome to the KNOX channel. We've just come back from Portimão riding the latest addition to the KNOX fleet of motorcycles. That is our BSB Superstock GSXR1000 and this is our first ride review. So for you guys watching who tuned into our first episode where we introduced our BSB Superstock bike that we've just recently acquired, and that was an episode where we lifted the lid and showed you everything that goes inside basically to make a competitive Superstock 1000cc machine. This is the next episode and this is where we've actually been able to ride this thing. We're so exciting. And there was no better place for us to go than a European track day with no limits to the iconic MotoGP World Superbike track. That's Portimão in Portugal. It was the most unbelievable experience. But what I'm going to do right now is switch you over to some of the footage that we got while we're out there on holiday and then bring you back here for the debrief. Good morning from the Algarve. We're at Portimão, not doing things by half for this first test. Basically on a 3-day track day event with our sort of favoured track day provider, that's No Limits. We've had an absolutely fantastic time here. Let me just show you inside the garage and a little bit of what you can see. So this is your garage, and this has been our little setup for the past few days. So that's the new Superstock bike, performing absolutely incredibly. More on that later. And this is Jeff's bike. We've just been drying out all the gear overnight, and warmers are on, and we've got about another half hour till we're off. This is actually day 3, and you know what, it's been the most incredible thing just to ride on this track. Obviously you watch it on TV and you know, see people like Top Rack and Johnny Ray riding this track, and you watch it on TV and you just think that's incredible that we've even got the opportunity to be able to ride on such a track where you see your heroes doing stuff. It's just ridiculous. So this is the pit wall right here, start finish straight. You're down this straight at about 170, I think I've topped at 173 GPS speed, and brake around that 250 meter mark. It's pretty ballsy. It really is. But yeah, you know, the track has been phenomenal. It's more than lived up to expectations or to the anticipation of it. You know, it is a proper MotoGP track, and ultimately that means it's really wide, it's very safe, there's lots of runoff. It's not like Alton Park where if you make a mistake you're straight on the grass. You know, you've got loads of runoff here, so if you do make mistakes, you know, it's not the end of the world. Actually, the overall track day itself has been really, really fantastic. Brilliantly ran by No Limits. I think they sort of seem to step up the game for these Euro events. I have to say as well, the standard of riding has been really good as well. You know, that was something I was a little bit worried about, was people just going to be cutting you up left, right and centre, and no, not really. After the first sort of morning session, I suppose, and the first few crashes, which there's always guys that are going to crash. Once everyone's got that out of the way and sort of scared themselves a little bit, actually the standard of riding has been fantastic. And ultimately, you know, it's a 3-mile circuit, so even if there's like 40 guys in your group, you know, there's plenty of space for everybody to have a good time, and that's what we're here to do ultimately. But yeah, what I'm going to do, and apologies that the camera work is not going to be up to its usual standards, we're just on GoPro because basically I'm on holiday. So I'll probably stick in a couple of laps and catch up with you later. So just to reiterate, doing that 3-day European track day with no limits was an absolutely phenomenal experience. And if you haven't done one before, you should definitely consider it. Felt like, to me, like the organisation was a step up from what their UK events are. It was relaxed, it was friendly, people were there to help you, and actually the other riders who we were alongside, you know, we got to talk to over the 3 days and build up a bit of a camaraderie, to be honest. It was just a really fantastic experience. Ultimately, Portimao is just a track like any other, really. And, you know, people talk about it like it's this roller coaster, like it's something that's not possible anywhere else. Well, I'm telling you what, you know, it is possible. Like Alton Park is a roller coaster too, and probably a bit more gnarly than Portimao. Portimao is just, you know, it is characterful and there's lumps and bumps around, but it's safe. The concrete is beautifully smooth. There's loads of runoff area, and it's a proper MotoGP track. It's just the quality standard is lifted up, and it felt like the whole event just had an air of class about it. And it was a really, really fantastic experience. And to do 3 days on the bounce with this bike just gave me an opportunity to actually get my head around riding a bike that was significantly better and more advanced than anything else I've ever ridden in my life. So it was a really fantastic experience to do that. And if you haven't done one already, you know, definitely consider booking on. So what did we do? Well, I think day one, you know, very much was spent kind of, wow, we're at a MotoGP track, we're at Portimao, you know. Look at that track, absolutely awesome. Figuring out the lines and trying not to crash. There was actually a lot of crashes on that first day. Yeah, I think there was actually a guy who, poor guy, he going into the hairpin and he actually came over the handlebars, flipped right over. There was a lot of crashes and I saw quite a few of them as well. So there was quite a few red cards, red flags I should say, red cards, it's because it's World Cup, red flags and accidents. So obviously didn't want to get involved in that. The other thing that I was kind of limited by on the first day a little bit was the Pirelli tyres that were fitted to the Superstock bike. Obviously this came from a Superstock team, so it was using Pirelli SC Superstock tyres. Well, I tell you what, they were absolutely goosed within about 4 sessions. Well, front was okay, that was an SC2, that was actually okay. While the tyres themselves felt fantastic, the longevity on the rear was just done. Well, that took all of 4 sessions and it is absolutely gone. To be honest, if I'd have bought that, I'd be well chased off. 4 sessions and it was totally cooked. No tread left, and the tyre man, unfortunately, poor guy, was absolutely flat out and he couldn't fit us in until the end of that day. So, you know, we were sort of tickling round on this tyre that had no tread on it and was quite squirrely really. So that was the first day. Second day, we fitted Dunlop KR slicks, KR slick on the front, and then actually got the opportunity to buy a Moto 2 rear, which sounds really bonkers that, you know, just track day riders are running around on a MotoGP tyre. But it just so happens that select companies around Europe get the opportunity to purchase the leftover tyres from Moto 2 and sell them to, you know, customers like us who are going to go off and do these European track days. Well, that was a really good decision for us to buy them because these tyres were just absolutely faultless. And an unbelievable level of grip and suitability to the Portimao, which is quite an abrasive track. We ran these tyres for 2 days and the wear was absolutely fantastic and the performance was just next level, to be honest. Probably more on that later really. So I spent the second day getting used to the bike, getting used to the power of it and having a good go, to be fair. Third day, we're exhausted, to be honest. We've had 2 really great days in the sun and I just spent the third day just messing around, to be honest. With me dad, he was also on his GSXR1000 and we just spent, you know, most of the day just backing and forward in each other, pulling a few wheelies and just messing around, pretty tired and, you know, almost ready to come home really. So that was the summary of a very, very good few days. So now onto the motorcycle itself. First thing, wow. The wow factor on jumping on this was just incredible for me. And it took me a little bit of time to get my head around it, to be honest, because I was expecting this beast of a bike that was, you know, I don't really know what I quite expected, to be honest, but it was just sorted, you know, and this is the first time that I've ridden a properly prepared factory race bike. And that's what this is. And basically what it feels like is if you ride a road bike and they've got, you know, the fueling's not quite right, it's a bit snatchy, it's a bit buzzy, you know, my toes are dragging on the ground, which they normally do on my other GSXR1000 and they certainly do on the 1000 road bike. All of that stuff is fixed. You know, there's no brake fade, the suspension's fantastic, the ride height is actually increased, so you don't drag your toes on the ground. It's just beautifully set up. You know, the fueling's crisp, it's accurate, there's not too much buzzing, and it's just fueled really well. Everything on it is sorted. And that for me gave me a real wow factor. And basically I was enabled to build my confidence up over the trip and actually get quite confident with the bike. The other thing that I really, really enjoyed was having the tank extender, which gave me a huge amount of support over my legs and in the braking phase. And you'll probably see some of the clips where I'm actually doing a bit of a leg dangle thing. But at the end of the day, we're on a 3-day track day. And if there wasn't a better opportunity to ever try these things and being out there, I thought I'll give it a go. And I tell you what, I really enjoyed doing it. And it made me use the tank extender more, gave me a lot more support under the brakes, meant I could sort of loosen my arms a little bit more, and I enjoyed doing it. I'll probably take that forward in my track riding going forward as well. The other thing I really enjoyed was the extra seat padding on the back. Now Portimao's got a massively long straight. I think I was topping out at just over 170 mile an hour GPS speed, so that would be faster on your actual speedo on that straight when I look back at the data. So it's bloody fast, and you tucked right in, you got your bum pressed against that seat pad, and it just gives you a lot of support, front from the tank extender and rear from the seat pad as well. It's really, really good. Second massive distinctive for me with this bike was the huge power jump, what I've experienced from where I've come from my 750. Obviously I've ridden the GSXR1000 before, but really letting loose on one for 3 days, and one that's been tuned and is probably 20 kilos lighter than the road bike, was quite a big step up. And there was definitely certain parts of the track that I'm a bit scared by it, and I'm not too proud to admit that, basically. And for you guys who are watching who've got 1000 cc's or have taken them to absolute 100% full gas, you know, it takes a little bit of getting used to, because they're bloody fast. They just want to wheelie all the time, and I'm not too proud to say it's more than a bit scary. So it's massive amounts of power, but really usable as well. But what I definitely feel is that the potential of this bike is up here, and I'm sort of down here at the moment, and it's going to take quite a lot of experience and getting used to the power to be able to maximize what this bike has got. The other quick thing to add to that is that there is no wheelie control on this bike, and because Portimao's got a lot of lumps and bumps, and also a lot of, well, the bike just wants to wheelie anyway, basically. And I've never had to do it before on any other bike that I've ridden, which is basically just stamp on the back brake and bring that front wheel back down without coming off the throttle. So I spent quite a lot of time, you know, doing that in the track riding that I did, and it's definitely a skill that I'm going to need to pick up and learn that mental thing. Keep the throttle on full gas, but stamp on the back brake. It's a bit of a mental thing, and I think that takes a bit more experience. The third takeaway, and I've already alluded to it already, that the potential of this bike is massive. And you know, I went to Portimão and I thought I'd really love to get a sub 2 minute lap time. And you know what? I achieved that. And I'm really, really happy with that. As a first ride on a proper big 1000, the first time at that track, I was pretty happy with that. There was guys who were doing it there at the very front of the fast group. And there was a couple of guys who were doing sort of 151, 152, 153. I'd like to think at some point I could get to that kind of pace, but do you know what? It's just going to take more experience, and I know how to ride it quicker, basically, and I've done it with my 750 as I've gone progressively quicker. You've just got to open the throttle harder, you've got to brake later, and just be overall more aggressive, and that lap time does come tumbling down, but it takes you putting yourself in more risk. Naturally, I'm quite a risk-averse rider, and it takes me a while to build up to that type of speed, whereas I know there's other guys who just go out there, you know, how hard can I brake without crashing it, and how hard can I open the throttle, and if they loop it or they're, you know, high side it, that just kind of happens. They found the limit and they know where to come back from there. I'm a different type of rider, and I'm a bit more risk averse. I've got a lot to risk, basically. So I've got to build up my experience to realize some more of the potential of this bike. So what's next for this project? Well, I tell you what, it's not just stopping right here. 2023 is going to see us on many more tracks. Hopefully we're going to cover a lot of them in the UK, and there'll also be a lot more learnings about this bike as we get more information on it, as we learn more about it, and as ultimately I get better riding it as well. There'll also be different component reviews that we do. There'll be different features that we do. So please stay tuned and subscribe to the channel. And on that note, I'm going to invite you to like it, subscribe, let us know what you think in the comment section, and check out all of the KNOX gear that we use to protect ourselves on test. We'll see you next time.